for this one. I was hoping it was coming. But we can go ahead and get started. We are live. I would like to note that all members are present. Shelley Mell, Tyler Winningham, Neil Reed, Derek Cox, and myself. And we also have Pat Moon from Meridian and
Marshall Moon.
Marshall Moon from Meridian. I've got to get used to saying Marshall. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes that were sent via email?
Yes.
Were there any changes to them?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Pat, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's good to see you. I'm going to do the first few pages here, then Marshall's going to talk about the stock market when we get finished there. But you'll see the planned performance on page 1 for the quarter, year to date, and then the trailing periods there. Another good quarter for the plan of 3.6%, so up 10% year to date. We would take that to the bank right today.
Yep.
You know, so if you think about it, you know, the stock market was down 18% in the first 9 months of last year. And this has been the most highly predicted recession for 2 years that we've ever had, that we've never had. And so at the bottom of that, the stock market was down 25%. It finished down 18%. It was 25% at the end of September last year. And there was a lot of worry, about what's coming in the next few months. Inflation was running at 9% or whatever. Well, since that time, the stock market's up 20%. So it's kind of a good lesson of why you stay invested all the time, because some of the best predictions don't come true. And this first half, 16% rise in the stock market is the largest first 6 months increase since 2000. So 23 years, long time. So really, really good first 6 months. If you look at the last thing I'll say about that, a lot of people think that the markets are down. You know, it's just there's a pervasive negativity about what's going on in the stock market. Maybe they'll check their balances and their 401k and everything now and realize, hey, things aren't quite so bad. The bond returns are on the middle there, and year to date up 2.2%. That doesn't sound that great, but given that the 10-year rate returns 1.4% on bonds, you know, that's not bad. We're seeing interest rates be able to finally help the portfolio. And then for the quarter, your stocks were up 5.6%. Kind of did a flip-flop from the first quarter when the international and small cap did the best. They did the worst this quarter. But your stocks up all combined those 14% year to date. So pretty good. And Tyler, I thought of you when this was printed, and the market value was above $15 million. So maybe finally we can be below it.
That's a nice.
All that long.
No.
I mean, we were hovering around 15 when
Yeah.
stuff started to go on the decline.
Yeah.
And that lasted for a year.
Yeah, about a year. In fact, yeah, you can see here the big 12 months ago it was $13.4 million.
Yeah.
12 months ago. So we're back up to about where it was. Probably not quite to the peak, but back up about. Let's talk about what's going on generally for the economy. And we've talked about this a lot in the past, but the Federal Reserve is highly involved in everything that's going on right now because they're trying to slow the economy down. Their job is two things. They want full employment and they want low inflation. And low inflation to them is 2%, around 2% a year. And so we were able to do that for really a long time, and they kept interest rates at zero. But you know, they've increased them a lot. I'll show you here in a minute. But that's what they're doing. And so I wanted to show you those two measures. That unemployment rate today is sitting at 3.7% nationally. Conway is 2.4%, something like that. Yeah,
I believe.
even much better. But 3.7%. Unemployment is really among the lowest that we've ever seen, probably the lowest that we've ever seen. And not only is it that, it's been that way for quite a while now, for over 18 months. So everybody who wants to work can work in some capacity. And a lot of people are able to elevate themselves from where they were by changing jobs because wages are going up. So that part of the economy is doing really, really well. And you don't go into recession when everybody's working. You just don't. So perhaps we're going to go into a recession. We think if we do, it'll be small maybe next year, but right now, just not in the cards. On page 3, the second part of that is the Consumer Price Index, and that's just a measure of inflation. And these, as of this morning, these charts are dated.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, I thought I'd tell you, the Consumer Price Index, which is inflation, you can see it peaked at 8.9% last summer, right at 9%, and it was advancing at a 4% rate in May. So we've had a really large drop in the level of inflation. So the Federal Reserve raising rates has really helped that. And you can see at the bottom here what has really occurred in the change between May 2022 levels, which are the blue bars, and May 2023, which are the orange. You can see fuel prices, fuel oil and gasoline prices have really collapsed, car and truck rentals, airline fares, those kind of things. That's still the case. And this morning, don't mind, I'll give that my iPad, make a few observations. The CPI came in at 3%.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is a really a big drop, much lower than what was anticipated. And so the Federal Reserve work is being done. I just noticed a few things that, like the things that inflation, the basket that they use includes a whole lot of things, all the way from sugar and motor vehicle repair. But the things that went up so much are motor vehicle repair, almost 20%. Frozen vegetables, I don't know why that is the case, but they're 17%. I go to the grocery store. Unfortunately, I just get what's on the list that was given to me. I don't pay attention that much. Pet food up 12%, bread up 11%, sugar up 11%. So those kind of things. And then if you look at the things that have declined, used cars and trucks down 5%, eggs down 8%, television's 10%, bacon's down 10%. That's good for America. Those kind of things. Airline fares down almost 20%. So we're really beginning to see a lot of things drop in price. Not back where we were, but it's good. And so on page 4, this is the level of the Fed funds rate. So when they say the Fed is raising rates or lowering rates, this is what they're doing. And the Fed funds rate is what banks charge each other for overnight money, kind of just a base level. And it was at 0 for much of 08 to 15, then went up, and then was down again to 0 between 19, really during the pandemic. And then the level of increase from 0 to 5.13% is not unprecedented, but the pace that they did it so quickly was unprecedented. And you can see where it is at 5.13%. They paused. They didn't do it this past meeting, but people are thinking they're going to raise rates another 1 or 2 times, given the same pace. So that affects everything from mortgage rates to car loans to CD rates and all those things. But the green and blue bars there are prognostications of 2 groups where they think things are going to be later 2023 and even into 25. So most people are thinking the Fed will begin to lower rates beginning sometime next year. So we're hesitant. We try to be pretty optimistic anyway in this business. If you're not optimistic, it's hard enough to be in without being that way. But we just don't see a market environment that we're going into that's going to be harmful to the fund unless something drastically unexpected happens. Marshall's going to talk a little bit about the stock market beginning on page 5.
Yeah, so if you'll recall, the first time Pat sent me in here by myself was to cover 2022 when the stock market had its worst year since the great financial crisis, and bonds had their worst year in history. So it's nice to come in and talk when stocks are up double digits. On page 5, this is a chart we've used before, but I just kind of wanted to use it to set up the next slide. But going into 2022, stock valuations were really expensive, and throughout the year went down and down to a level that was below average. And since then, mostly this year, valuations have begun to rise. And so the question is why? And on page 6, this will explain a lot of it. This chart on the top left is a little bit dated. It's about a month old, but it would stand true today. 10 of the largest stocks in the world accounted for nearly 90% of the S&P 500 gains year to date. And so you may think that's that's really strange. And if you've watched any financial news at all, you've probably seen headlines about it, about whether that's a good thing or not. And most say it's not. But that chart on the bottom right shows that, it's not unusual for the largest 10 stocks to make up nearly the majority of the entire market. And so you can see specifically that gray bar there, that's the largest 10 stocks dating back to 1927. And you can see it's ranged from nearly 40% to as low as 15, and right now about 30%. So it's not necessarily out of the norm for the largest stocks to contribute the most on the upside or the downside to the stock market. I will note, of those 10 stocks, the worst is Alphabet, or Google as we know it, and it's up 36% year to date, and the best being NVIDIA, almost 200%. You'll notice your portfolio owns some of these, including Apple, which is up 47%, Amazon up 55%, Alphabet up 36%, like I mentioned, and Meta Platforms or Facebook is up 155%. So you can see these large stocks are really carrying the weight so far this year.
In history, the largest companies, it was much more cyclical. It might be Philip Morris, or it might be IBM, or it might be a railroad or whatever. Notice all of these stocks relate to something that's adding productivity, technology over the past. And so it's just transformational, and it's something that they don't have to cycle out of. Especially with artificial intelligence coming in, many of these companies will do even better during that environment. So this may not change for a while.
Yes. So this kind of begs the question of what happens from here. And on page 7, these are analyst expectations, Wall Street expectations for the stock market in the second half of each year, going back to 1999. And you can see prior to this year, there have only been 4 times when Wall Street expected the stock market to be down in the second half of the year. The good news is that during those 4 years, the stock market was never down. In fact, in 1999, it was up 7% in the second half alone. In 2019, up 10%. In 2020, up 21%. And in 21, up 11% in the second half of the year. So you can see Wall Street obviously expected stocks to be down in the second half of this year. If history holds true,
Contrarian position.
maybe we'll have some positive returns continue for the rest of the year. Then on page 8, here's just a kind of a quick snapshot of your portfolio as a whole. You have about 27% in bonds, 71% in stocks, and 2% in cash, which is actually invested in short-term treasury notes where you're getting about a 4% yield. So you can see your allocation there is kind of in the middle range of your investment policy range. You can see your top holdings there. In Q2, we're actually quite active as far as purchasing new stocks. You can see 4 new purchases there, which you'll recognize most, if not all of those. Generac is they build industrial generators and home standby generators. Centene is one of the largest managed healthcare companies in the world. Etsy, which you know well, and EPAM Systems is a technology consulting, engineering and development firm, which helps really large corporations kind of advance their technology, whether that's their app or their website or their customer loyalty programs, things of that nature. And then at the bottom there, you can see since inception in 1999, your net amount invested at $6 million, and your total portfolio value as of the end of Q2 above $15 million. And finally, on page 9, this is just a lot going on here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you want to dig into any of it. But this is just a snapshot of the actively managed portion of the portfolio, the individual stocks that we select, and the performance down below. You can see this part of your portfolio is up nearly 20% this year compared to the different indices. It's been a really good year for us and for your portfolio. So we're hoping that continues for the rest of the year. And then beyond that will be the holdings in the portfolio. Take any questions if you have any.
Back on page 4, the Fed funds chart. I've seen a couple of articles and stuff, and, you know, it may just be to get you to click on it and read it, but saying, you know, they predict we'll never see mortgage rates get as low as they did. But they got pretty low back in, say, from in 2012 and 13, the averages were below 4%. They were at least in the high threes.
Yeah.
And then we were right back there, you know, from 19 to 21. Do you guys think it's a possibility that rates will ever get back down as low as they were?
Yeah, of course it's possible, but if you think about it, Tyler, back then, they hadn't been really below 6% in, you know, several decades. So there was several generations that had never seen interest rates below 6%, especially on a mortgage.
Yeah.
Now we've got a generation or two that's never seen it at 7% where it is, you know. Everybody who can is locked in at 2.5% to 3.5%. So you can't ever say never, but it looks to me like if the Fed lowers rates like that, like they say they're going to do, or everybody thinks they do, mortgage rates will come back down. Yeah, they can come down significantly.
Yeah.
Whether it gets below 4% or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd just add, since, you know, if you kind of zoom out a little bit from 1999 here, you can see the trend of rates, and that would continue going back for several decades.
Yeah.
You know, the level of rates, in a sense, is a measure of risk. And as the economy and our government has gotten more mature, the level of rates have come down over time. So I would say that it's much more likely that mortgage rates get back close to those lows than it would be going up to 13+% like it was in previous decades.
Yeah. And just on this chart, it looks like the anomaly is like from 08 to 15. Other than that, it's going pretty volatile.
Yeah.
But for those several years there, it was down there and staying pretty close to zero.
Yeah. You know, the Federal Reserve, its willingness, ability to change rates like this is kind of a recent phenomenon. You know, the first time the Fed ever raised rates in order to calm inflation was in the late 70s and early 80s. Volcker did it. It was a big experiment and it worked. And so the Federal Reserve has been a lot more nimble than it used to. Rate increases or decreases were slow in coming. So they're doing a much better job on that. Well, you remember what happened to we talk about the housing market now, but remember what happened to the housing market in 08. You know, it just completely cratered into a severe recession. And so that's when the first time they'd ever taken rates down to 0%. And it took us a long time to come out of that.
Yeah.
It did. I'd kind of forgotten that 15 was the year that they finally started raising rates a little bit. But yeah, if they were at lower rates right there, you know, mortgage rates have got to come down. What are they now? Over 7%?
I'm not sure.
Right at
I
7.
think the national average is right at 7.
Yeah. So think about all the people at 2.5% or 3%. They're locked in. They're not, you know.
They're not selling, they're not, yeah.
No, they can't. Because, you know, houses are like cars. People a lot of times buy all they can afford to get their payment at a certain amount. And, you know, with rates going from 3% to 7%, people's payments on the same house would be going up 60 to 70%. That's not practical. Not practical for a lot of people, most people.
Yeah, you might get a great price selling your house, but you can afford to buy another one.
Yeah, that's right. I saw in the Conway chamber, they put together in that Pulse magazine, they do every 6 months kind of measurements, and I saw where housing starts and housing sales, the third measure, all about the country, all down over 40% year to date over last year in Conway. Yeah, it's impacted for sure.
And property values have gone up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not significantly since rates were that low, but they've definitely gone up.
Yeah.
Inventory's gotten lower and competition for those houses has gotten higher. So
Yeah. We went into this market environment with not enough housing anyway. It's kind of a multi-year thing where we don't, in the country, we don't have enough housing. And so you take out all these houses off the market that people can't sell, but you still have this natural group of people that need a house, either moving or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's just no inventory, so the prices are staying up. Usually like in 08, prices were, you know, they were down 20, 25%. housing prices were.
Yeah. Like the Ivy Ridge, I know the conversation of renting them out versus selling them was not necessarily pertinent
Right,
to y'all's decision.
right.
But
Wasn't
even
supposed
if,
to be, yes.
even if he did keep them and rent them out, it's still
It's still providing housing.
providing housing that's cheaper than what
That's
else is available.
affordable and, yeah.
I was going to show you. Was it on this one? It was on this chart.
Tyler, we're seeing some advantages with a little bit of higher interest rates with our just deposits and bank accounts.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been, even looking at your report from last night.
Mhm.
Finally.
Yeah, finally have interest income. You know, that it's been a long time since we had any,
It has.
since we've beaten those budget projections.
I mean, we'll have, banks and institutions contact us from time to time wanting to know, what's your investment strategies? And before we were like,
What does it matter?
hold on to it because, it's
Yeah.
rates are 0.02%. Wow. And of course, they're trying to find you something that'll earn you more than that, but still it was,
Yeah.
0.01 compared to 1% is still not just a whole lot.
Well, that applies to all types of investors. One really good segment of investors are people that are retired. That segment is retired and needing the income or wanting the income that they haven't really had that availability in a long time. So retirees are finally getting some interest on their money.
Yeah.
Very helpful. I was seeing that rents increased 8% over last year. Rental income is still one of the things that's really rental cost still increasing in cost across the country. Not enough apartments either.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's just throw numbers out. Let's say he's rents those houses out for
What do you say last night, $1,250 or something?
$1,250 or $1,300. I mean, I would guess a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Conway is going to cost you 11,
Mhm.
or maybe the same,
You
12
have a
or
house with
13.
a yard. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We refinanced our house at mid 21, locked in at 2 something. And then my wife was looking at these things in the mail. They're sending us all these things about how our, sell your house to us. We can get this much. And it's so much more than what we bought it for.
Mhm.
And she was like, I said, no.
It is.
We can get a great price on it, but we got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
And, and
You're going to be right back in the market.
yeah.
Mhm.
That you sold into.
Yeah.
So,
So next time you'll be back up to 16 million.
Yeah, I think so. I
Plan?
think so. Yeah.
Can we-
I didn't really mean to bring Marshall. His contract didn't say good times, but I thought he ought to see it one time. So he had to do one bad one by himself.
We figured you sent him because it was bad news,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, he was-
I really did have a conflict, but I was kind of okay with it.
We appreciate
Thank
these
you.
types of meetings.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you for
Thank y'all for
Thanks for coming.
your good work.
Pat, can you find your way back out?
Yeah, we
Let you out the door.
Yeah, somebody's told us we should, buy a house in the Hendricks Village. And I was like, and have a mortgage again? Could get a smaller house
that's what
that costs more than,
it's like these rental prices. I'm like, my mortgage is less than that. And I've got, I'm at the end of a cul-de-sac. And those lots are hard, with a half acre.
And it's-
hang on to it.
I mean, we got
This
The house next door to me was renting for
average 30-year rates going back to
whatever they
the 70s, and
$1,700.
Wow.
it's pretty close to that Fed rate.
We tried to buy it, but there was a bidding war
Mhm.
between property management.
Couldn't do it. All right, what's next?
All right, we don't have any retirements
Except
this
here,
week.
I mean,
That's
there was
Wow.
zero. They were still getting 4.
2 people retiring this month that y'all approved already. Shauna is still with us. She's staying until they find her replacement. But we do have 3 refunds. We have Michael McGee, $628.93. post tax. Trevon Leon, $1,370.08. His is a post tax. And Matthew Metcalf, $242.77 was pre, $21,243.14 was post, for a total of $21,485.91 from Mr. Metcalf. Our total for this month is $23,484.92.
I make a motion to approve those.
Second. That amount on his, it sounds like he was getting close to 10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was. He was a,
Telecommunicator.
yes.
Mhm.
I do not have any new business. Does anyone else have any?
We didn't take a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
He seconded.
he seconded and then we did.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. All in favor? I think what threw me is Derek seconded it the last
Sorry.
time.
Oh,
Yeah, I was writing
Keep
it
it, keeping it easy for your vote.
Yeah. Again, does anybody have any new business?
Nope, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
I always enjoy the investment
Yeah.
on that.